Yes. Good evening. I promise to be very brief, so I will speed up my presentation. Briefly, these are the topic of this presentation, and let's start from the beginning, from the very beginning. That is from Hippocrates and Galenus, that were the first to recognize the importance of nutrition for health and for longevity. And in particular, Galenus stated that both physical activity and nutrition were among the 6 things non-natural, that is the 6 conditions non-intrinsic to the nature of man, that the abuse or use of this were responsible and influence the health status of a person. Coming to our days, now it's recognized that nutrition, both the quantity and the quality of food consumed, is a modifiable factor that can delay or offset age-related decline, and is one of the major factors influencing lifespan and also health status across of life stages. In particular, nutrition is important for older subjects. And we know that is a common problem, but the imbalance between the food consumed and the needs of the aging body. There is both an excess, that is the overnutrition, but is more common the undernutrition in other subjects. And also there is the specific deficit of some nutrients, in particular proteins, of some vitamins and some mineral salts. And this condition, named malnutrition, is it's very common in older subjects and is becoming a geriatric giant for its size. We know that, for example, undernutrition is very common in older subjects in hospital and long-term care, but we know that the greatest absolute number of those who are malnourished live in the community. And we know that in the spring study we will try to improve the nutritional part in the nutritional status in community dweller older subject. But the assessment of nutritional deficiency is very difficult in all people, and in particular in older subjects, because there is no single measure that is sufficient, but a multidimensional approach is needed, and clinical judgment remain the gold standard. But we see that we try to find a solution in the Sprint project. Let's pass to the nutrition and malnutrition in physical frailty and sarcopenia. We know the most important concept of this presentation is that a malnutrition, that is the inappropriate nutrition and inappropriate capability to meet the needs of an aging subject, leads to the loss of function. We know that malnutrition could derive from the decrease of usual energy intake, or from the reduced ability to use the available nutrients, or from the greater needs of energy of specific nutrients. But all this condition leads to a loss of function. And we know from several evidence that is true, that malnutrition affects the ability to perform in some physical function performance, and also reduce the strength. But we know also that malnutrition and health condition and problems related to malnutrition are characteristic of the physical frailty defined by Freud, and also are among the health deficit of frailty index of Rockwood, and are also among the risk factor of sarcopenia, in particular the total amount of energy and the total amount of protein ingested. So malnutrition has become an ideal target to contrast and prevent physical frailty and sarcopenia. There are several intervention studies addressing this problem, and though there are some inconsistencies regarding the participant, the difference in age and the frailty status, and also some inconsistency in the type of intervention, the duration of intervention, the longest is 1 year, and the outcome considered. All these intervention studies suggest that amelioration of the quality of nutrition could improve the strength, walking speed, nutritional status in the majority of frail and pre-frail older subjects. And all these considerations, these elements were summarized in the World Report on Aging and Health from the WHO that was recently published. And there are 3 concepts very important that were stressed by this report. That is the management of malnutrition in this subject. In older subject needs to be multidimensional. Their energy and protein intake are important targets, and that there is the need of an individualized nutritional counseling that could be effective also within 12 weeks. So, how we use all this evidence to develop the nutritional intervention in sprint? As we have said earlier, sprint is a multi-component intervention, and in this in the multi-component intervention, we try to use the multifactorial nature of nutrition to support the beneficial effect of physical activity on physical frailty and sarcopenia. And we try to use this through an individual nutritional assessment and through personalized dietary recommendation. We start from a multidimensional nutritional assessment that includes the analysis of medical history, the collection of medical history, medication inventory, and physical exam, then anthropometry, height, weight, BMI, and also some circumferences. The body composition analyzed through DEXA, some important laboratory measures, and also we will analyze the nutritional data through a combination of 3-day dietary record plus a personalized nutritional interview. And then we will use also actimetry data. Current professional figure in our study will be the nutritionist that will act as a true personal nutritional trainer that will elaborate personalized nutritional recommendation in agreement with national and international guidelines. We know that this could differ because there are 9 countries and 15 different centers around Europe. But the nutritional trainer will also regularly monitor the adherence to dietary prescription and eventually propose additional internal assessment according to clinical needs. We set some predefined targets. There is a target of energy intake, 25 to 30 kilocalories per kilogram of body weight per day, a daily protein intake of 1 to 1.2 grams per kilograms of body weight, and we will monitor also vitamin D levels, and we'll try to correct them or improve them in case of vitamin D deficiency. Why we decide to use these cutoffs? Because this is the simple formula for estimating energy requirements according to a recommendation from international study groups. But we will try to individualize also daily energy intake using the multidimensional approach and also the data from actimetry. Why we use this target for protein? Because we try to follow the recommendation from the ESPER group, but also the position paper from the protein study group. So we use the most recent recommendation from the international study groups. And now this is the identikit and the profile of the first participant enrolled in these studies. These are data from the first 31 subject participant enrolled, and we know that the age is 77.3. The average age is this. There are the 76% of subjects that are women, with a BMI of 29, and you have to consider that these are sarcopenic subjects, so according to the FNIH criteria, because probably they are sarcopenic obese. The SPPP is, the mean SPPP is 7.6. They are not malnourished according to the MNA screening tool. But what is important is that they are not able to meet the targets. At the baseline, they are not able to meet the targets we set for the nutritional intervention. So we will try to improve their physical function through our nutritional intervention in combination with physical activity. And what is important from this preliminary analysis is that the subject with a lower SPPP has also a lower total daily energy intake and also a lower total daily protein intake. These are only 35 participants, but you see that the statistic is quite promising. So,
okay.
I was very brief, perfect. So, and my take-home message is that malnutrition is a key component of the physical frailty and sarcopenia condition. And the possible reversibility of malnutrition make it an ideal target for intervention against disability and physical frailty. But the nutritional assessment should be individual and the recommendation should be personalized. And with this kind of approach, we may support the beneficial effect of physical activity on physical frailty and sarcopenia. Thank you for your attention.